Hey, better unmute.
Okay, I will read the Dharma request today.
Okay. Let me see who's with us. All right, I know some of you have already said you can't have your webcam on. I know my auntie cannot. My auntie is with us today. She can't have a webcam on. And I hope Zoe and how am I going to pronounce that? Eng. If you have a very good reason, then you don't have to turn your webcam on. But if you don't have a good reason, then because this is a discussion, it would be nice if you could have your webcam on like everyone. Okay. All right. Let me share my screen. Okay. What you see on your screen, that is Borobudur in Indonesia. Okay. So I'm going to use my slides from my Medicine Master Buddha Sutra lecture to request for Dharma because I already have it. Okay, who was going to request again? Was it Jackie?
Jackie will request. I will
Okay.
request.
All right. I think everyone has joined us before. So what we do during requests is we mute our microphones so you can follow along. But because over Zoom, if you try to chant at the same time, there's going to be a difference in the lag. So when we do the chanting for the request for Dharma, we mute our microphones. Jackie, are you comfortable with this opinion? Do you know how to do it?
No, I can just read lah, but can't sing it. This is
Okay, then we'll just do the English.
yes, thank you.
Okay, you can start when you're ready.
Will the Sangha, with great virtue, out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss, and end birth and death and quickly realize non-birth.
Okay, thank you. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo saranto sucheto ye Allahati sanmiao sanputo che. 无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a billion eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Okay, I just realized this slideshow of mine is reciting Medicine Master Buddha's name, but I think for our purpose, we can recite. Yes, that's right. Okay, so I'll show you this. Okay, so we're going to recite 7 times. Namo Tabe Quan She Yin Pusa 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 Namo Tabe Quan She Yin Pusa. Okay. Yeah, slideshow. Oh, Alec is cheating. He has his photo instead of his webcam on. Okay, now he's back. All right. Okay. In the future, all right, in the future, what DRBA, which is the organization I'm from, what they do is when they have a Zoom event, they get everyone to, after your name, you put down where you're from. Okay, so for the future, after your name, you can put down maybe the city. If you know how to do it, I know not all of you are able to figure some of this out. But if you can, after your name, you put down like Kuala Lumpur, or I know today we have two people from where? Is it London? Do we, or one? Is it Jacqueline?
I'm from Leeds, and I think Janice, are you there?
Who just spoke?
Yeah, I'm Janice. Yes, I'm
Janice.
I'm from Manchester.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
typing my message now to introduce myself. So yeah, it's okay.
Okay, how do we pronounce your name?
It's a bit hard to pronounce Zini Ong, or you can just call me Janice. That might be easier.
Is that a Chinese name?
Yeah, it's a Chinese name.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we have people from Kuala Lumpur, from Australia. Wait, where's Jin Ai? Is Jin Ai is not with us today? Oh, okay. I see
I'm
her.
here looking for the mouse.
Okay, sorry. Because only your forehead and your nose are harder to recognize. Okay, so what we're going to do, all right, this series of classes, we are starting with this text, and it's known as the Sixth Patriarch Dharma Jewel Platform Sutra. This sutra is unusual because it is one of the very few, if not the only one, I think it's the only one, sutra in the Mahayana canon that was not spoken by the Buddha or by one of the arhats, I believe, something like that. Okay, if you want to go into what constitutes a sutra, we can get into that later. But the okay, hold on, just let me check my sound setting. Just give me a moment. Okay, just want to make sure audio. Why has Zoom changed? Okay, all right. Okay, good. Where was I? The Buddha did say certain things about what will qualify a sutra, but basically it is if it tallies with the text, the existing text, the principles tally with the text, and it tallies with the Vinaya or the precepts, then the Buddha say it can be regarded as a sutra. So the sixth Patriarch, as the name implies, is a Buddhist Patriarch. And what happens is, let me see if there's some history in the text. Hold on. When Buddhism in India, I can't remember the date. Okay, I'm going to mute. Oh, I can't mute anyone. Okay, so if you are not speaking, you can mute your microphone, so we don't hear you chewing while you're eating dinner or something. Yes. Okay. So when Shakyamuni Buddha entered Nirvana, Venerable Mahakashyapa became the first Arhat. And that's actually related to the first question that we have today, which is the mind certifying the mind. So what happened was Shakyamuni Buddha held up a flower and smiled. And Mahakashyapa at that moment understood. Let me see, does anyone know exactly what happened? I know Shakyamuni Buddha held up a flower, and now I'm not sure whether it was the Buddha that smiled or Mahakashyapa that smiled. Does anyone know?
是
Yeah.
The Buddha smiled, and then
Mm.
Kashyapa was the only one who smiled back.
Okay, there you go. So that is known as the mind-to-mind transmission, which means mind-to-mind transmission is not someone giving you knowledge. It's not someone, teaching you some secret dharma that only you would know. Okay, mind-to-mind transmission is when you get enlightened and you meet someone else who's enlightened. If the person is of a higher, equal or higher state, you both understand each other without using words. And if it's a case of certifying, that means, like, for example, the Buddha at that moment, he made Mahakashyapa the first patriarch after he would enter Nirvana. It would be a case of the senior or the predecessor qualifying the newcomer. So the sixth patriarch had his mind certifying moment. Another mind certifying moment is when my Shufu, when my master met Elder Master Xu Yin Lao He Sang, and they just nodded and said, so it is, or thus it is. That means everything is just like that. There's no need to, when you understand reality, there's no need to have even words. Even one word is too much. Yeah, so that's the mind certifying the mind. All right. Now you may hear other explanations, especially within the Japanese school of Buddhism. I tend to ignore that. Maybe we'll come through that in our text. Okay, so as we go through this text today, all right, the Sixth Patriarch Sutra, I want you all to, not feel afraid to question what we read. Okay, because there's a difference. Okay, who has the muting powers? Okay, mute. There's a difference between being cynical, like dismissive. So when it comes to doubt, there is unwholesome doubt. Unwholesome doubt is the kind of doubt that comes from a close-minded perspective. It prevents you from learning. That's so being cynical, having a cynical attitude. What else? You all know what I mean. Okay, having that kind of doubt is counterproductive. But there's another kind of doubt that I call wholesome doubt. It's when you don't understand, or you're not sure, or you think there might be different layers of meaning, or it could mean something else. And why am I saying this? Because human beings tend to have a tendency when they encounter sacred texts such as sutras or the Bible, the part of the brain that works on logic and common sense tends to shut down. People tend to stop to thinking about what they're reading and they just accept what's in the text. But when you do that, if you don't engage with the text, then you don't learn anything. Because what you see in front of you, I am sharing my screen, right? Am I? Okay, because the green border that's normally there is not there. What you see in front of your screen is a sutra. It's theory. It only becomes the Dharma when you engage with it, when it speaks to your experience. Then it becomes a Dharma. So that's why some sutras are very hard to understand, because we haven't reached the level of experience that the sutra, or reality that the sutra is referring to. For example, the Heart Sutra, right? When it says, no eyes, ears, no tongue, body or mind, no sight, sound, smell, taste, objects of touch or dharmas, no feel of the eyes up to including no feel of mind consciousness. You know what that means? It means that the world doesn't exist. It means that your experience of the world is empty. But how can that be? Because that's not the case for all of you. Hopefully, not all of you, hopefully, but for normal people, that's not the case. So how do you get to comprehend sutras like that. So you have to question. You have to try, at the very least, you have to try to bring it down to the level where you are. It may not be the correct interpretation of the sutra, but it wouldn't be wrong either. Because when you have a base level and you base your understanding on that, as long as you keep an open mind, then that's how you can progress. You know what I mean? So for example, if a text talks about a bodhisattva on, say, the second ground or third ground, perfection of giving away his, let's say, like what? It's just going to sound weird. Like he gives away his family. He gives away his wife and his children. Okay. Is that literal or metaphorical? I don't know. I'm not a bodhisattva on that ground, you know, because Mahayana sutras contain both literal and metaphorical meanings. But at my level, I can imagine, all right, someone who cares, who has so much loving kindness for his wife and his children, or for her husband and her children, that whatever decision that they make, as long as it's a wise decision, they don't control their spouses, they don't control their children according to what they think is right. They allow them to do the things, the wholesome things that they want, as long as it makes them happy. So that's one way of understanding how someone can give someone up. Because if you don't, then what is the other meaning? You control. You know, your emotional love can turn possessive. It can turn into jealousy. It can turn selfish. Okay, so you all understand what I mean? All right. So let me show you one. Okay, when it's time to read, I'm going to increase the text size, the size of the text. But for now, sometimes you have to bear with all the flashing, the scrolling and flashing, because I'm looking for a particular page. Okay, for example, like this chapter 3, very good title. It's called Doubts and Questions. How it starts is this. So it says, one day, we're not going to start here. I'm just using this as an example. It says, one day, Perfect Way hosted a large vegetarian feast on behalf of the master. After the meal, the prefect asked the master to ascend the dais, or is a special seat where you, because when you have a monastic speaking the Dharma, they should always sit higher than everyone else. So it takes the formal lecture seat. Then along with officials, scholars, and assembled people, he respectfully bowed, because he's the host, and asked, your disciple has listened to the master's explanation of the Dharma. It is truly inconceivable, maybe because he doesn't understand, so inconceivable, but I now have a few doubts and hope you will be compassionate and resolve them for me. Okay, so the master, which is the sixth Patriarch, said, okay, go ahead. Then, all right, so that is the setting. Let me go through the actual text that I want to show. Oh, here. Here. So this was after he had asked a question. This is the second question. Is the text, like, anyone has any issues reading the text? Please say something. Nobody? Okay.
Sorry,
Yes.
Master.
Yes.
Where can I see the text? I only see your screen. I'm not able to see any text. I don't know, is it my side got issue, or other people can see the text?
Okay, what do you see now on my screen?
Your view.
Oh, you mean my face?
Yeah, your face.
Oh, no. Okay, you got to change your view to not presenter view, but okay, I've never used Zoom on my phone. Can someone help?
I think it's okay. Like, if let's say the rest can see the text, then it's okay. I just listen can already. Yeah, I don't want to interrupt. Yeah, I don't
No,
want
it's
to.
fine. No. Everyone should be able to see. Okay, hold on. Let me join on Zoom.
See, other attendees can see the text, is it?
Because some of them are using their computers.
Yes, we can.
Oh, I'm using my laptop, but then
Okay. Or using your laptop.
Yeah, I'm using
Okay,
my laptop, so I don't know, is it that is my, I don't know how to set or what.
Yeah, can someone using their laptop just help out?
There should be
There's tabs on the top, and then you should see Jinher's screen and click on that tab.
Oh, okay, yeah, thanks. Yeah,
Okay,
okay,
good.
now I saw. Now I see
Okay.
it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good. I don't want you staring at my face the whole time. Okay.
Yeah,
So it says, your disciple often sees the Sangha and laity. Everyone know what Sangha means? Okay, strict definition of the Sangha is the monks and nuns and the novices. But then they call it the threefold and fivefold Sangha. Fivefold Sangha includes lay people. So Sangha and laity reciting Amitabha Buddha, hoping to be reborn in the West, which means the Pure Land, Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. Says, please explain this for me. Will they actually gain rebirth there? Please resolve my doubts. Okay, why do you think someone would ask that question? Because a lot of people read this and they just read. They say, okay, here's a question. But what would make someone doubt the practice? Can't hear you, Levan.
Seems too easy.
Okay, good. That's one. We won't really know because we are not there. Okay. Okay, so one is seems too easy. Anyone else?
And not enough merits.
Not enough merits, yes. So how do we get the merits? Okay. Anyone else?
Too far away.
Too far away, okay.
seems like very
Seems like what?
seems like a fairy tale.
Like a fairy tale? Okay.
There's no proof for us to see that this is happening.
Ah, okay.
Maybe
So-
it's not the destination that we might want to go. Maybe
Okay.
we might want to be a bodhisattva or an arahant or even a
Okay.
Buddha.
All right. So, very good. You all are thinking. One, all those are all very valid questions, and I hope that those questions will be answered as we go through the text. One way of looking at it is also, it says this, I often, literally, he sees the Sangha and laity reciting Amitabha Buddha. Okay, so it's not so much a doctrinal issue. I mean, if you take what he's saying literally, at least on the surface level, it doesn't seem so much to be a doctrinal thing, because it's not questioning the sutras, it's not questioning the how you say it, the principles. Put yourself in the shoes when you see people reciting Amitabha's name. Say if you go to the temple, who are the people that you know who recite Amitabha's name? And you will see a cross section of monastics and lay people, right? Some are really practicing hard. Some are really holding the precepts. Some may not be. Some may actually be scoundrels at heart, right? You know, this question seems like a what question? Just because you believe in God, do you get to go to heaven kind of thing? It could be. Like I said, we are not there, we don't know. But what I'm trying to get at is I want to give you all the license to question. And don't feel bad going into those kind of territories. Because he might see a monk, a really good monk or nun, and when all they do the whole day long, they're just reciting Amitabha's name. They seem to be in very deep concentration. But then they also see another monastic who only cares about food, sleeps, eats food, doesn't really work, and when they're reciting, I mean, there's a huge difference between this other monastic reciting and the first monastic who was reciting with, you know there's something going on. And then this other monastic is just walking around, looking at the birds, or maybe holding, maybe playing with their phone or something, and then reciting Amitabha Buddha, Amitofo, Amitofo. Right? Wouldn't that make you think?
Pastor,
Yes.
I feel like I believe if the heart is pure, the mind is pure.
Yeah.
I think that is the main gist.
Yeah, but I
to
understand. I wasn't.
Yeah.
It was a rhetorical question. I'm sorry, Miss Yap,
Uh-huh.
for being misleading.
Not necessary that you need to do a lot of things, but I feel like the mind and the heart, so long as it's pure.
Okay.
So I think
Okay, we'll find out. Okay, when we read the rest of the text, we'll find out. Okay, but what I'm trying to point to is when we investigate the text, we should ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask those kind of questions. All right? Don't be afraid. Just because it's a sutra, we can't ask. No. And don't be afraid if, what happens if I ask and then Fasha cannot answer? Why? Because this is a group discussion. It's not my responsibility to answer questions for you. Okay? And if I don't know, I just don't know. And then hopefully someone will know, and then all of us can learn. All right? So, coming back to the text, we shall start from where? From the translator's introduction. Oh no, from the preface, actually. Preface. Why? Because there's a lot of things that we can learn. This is my Shufu, Tripitaka Master Xuanhua. And Tripitaka means master of the three baskets. Okay. So can we have a volunteer? Oops, why can't I find the middle 500? Okay. Can I have a volunteer to read?
May I?
Yes.
Thank you. All of the sutras are guides to use in cultivating the way. They may be delivered by Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Patriarchs, and also by Arhats, spiritual incarnations, and gods. Though the doctrines within them vary, they all serve the same purpose. The sutras delivered by the Buddha were translated from the Indian languages into Chinese, and thus they found their way into Chinese culture and society. In China, then, all of the sutras are translations with the sole exception of this present work, the Six Patriarchs Dharma Jewel Platform Sutra, which is the recorded teachings of the great Chinese master, the Sixth Patriarch. The great master was originally an illiterate peasant. When he heard this sentence of the Diamond Sutra, "Let your mind be unattached, clinging to nothing," he experienced an awakening and went to Huangmei to draw near the fifth patriarch, the great master Hongren. The fifth patriarch bequeathed the wondrous Dharma to him, the mind certifying the mind, which had been handed down in an unbroken succession from patriarch to patriarch. The sixth patriarch inherited this mind seal Dharma teaching and proceeded to carry on the wisdom life of the Buddha through his teachings, the Platform Sutra. Now it has been translated into English, and the Mind Deal Dharma teaching of the Buddha has thereby been transmitted in perpetuity to the West. It is hoped that Westerners will now read, recite, and study it, and that they all will become Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Patriarchs. This is the main purpose of this translation. May all who read and hear it quickly realize the Buddha's way. Wherever this sutra takes root, the proper Dharma may be found there as well, enabling living beings to directly realize Buddhahood. Such is the importance of this translation. The sutra is indeed a treasure trove. It is the true body of the Buddha, the compassionate mother and father of all living beings. It can give birth to limitless Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Patriarchs. May all in the West who now read this sutra gain awakening and realize the Buddha's way.
Okay, we
The
can take a
sutras-
pause. We can take a quick pause here.
Sorry.
Okay. This part. I genuinely wish that this happens for all of you. Okay, from the deepest part of my heart, hopefully through this sutra, for some of you, actually for all of you, that this will happen. Okay, so the language in the sutra may be straightforward, but how to say, the effect is not. Okay, all right. Sorry to interrupt. Please continue.
The sutras embody the precious wisdom of the Buddha. There are some, let us call them academic sophists, who claim the Shurangama Sutra is not a teaching of the Buddha. This is most certainly not true, and so I have made the following vow. If the Shurangama Sutra is false, may I fall into the unceasing hells forever.
Okay, that is one of the names of my shufu. Yeah. Okay, so one of y'all had a question regarding this final paragraph. Let me find that question. Where is it? Okay. Okay, found it. Let me see. Okay, so whose question was this?
TA.
Is she?
Is
TA,
it
would you like to ask your question? Or do you want me to share it on the screen? I can copy and share on the screen.
Yeah, I think that might be better.
Okay. Hold on. Hold on. I have the list of questions from last time. Let me see. Where is it? Q. Okay, here. I have too many windows open. And then Zoom, you know what Zoom does? They're going to cover the window, and even if you click on the window, you can't see the window underneath it because Zoom just covers everything. Okay. So this is your, would you like to read your question? Yeah.
Okay. My understanding of the inclusion of this statement is Master Xuan Hua's intention to give a stamp of confidence to the Platform Sutra's teachings as also true Buddha's teaching, just like the Shurangama Sutra. Those studying this sutra need not harbor any doubts in being guided by the sutra's teachings. Am I correct?
Okay, now let's go back to the text. All right. So would you like to read the paragraph again and tell me what you think?
The one that you're highlighting? The sutras embody the precious wisdom of the Buddha. There are some, let's call them academic sophists, who claim the Shurangama Sutra is not a teaching of the Buddha. This is most certainly not true. And so I have made the following vow. If the Shurangama Sutra is false, may I fall into the unceasing hells forever.
Okay, so what do you think?
So is my deduction near there?
Okay, is your deduction the same after reading the paragraph again? So your deduction, all right, is that Master Hua is giving a stamp of confidence to the sixth Patriarch Sutra because it is as true as the Shurangama Sutra, right?
Yeah.
So that those people who study this sutra like us, we will not have any doubts with the sutra. Is that right? Okay. Do you all agree? What do you all think the paragraph is saying?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. Anyone have a different thought? Okay, what we're doing is also called close reading. All right, close reading is what? Close reading is the text is the authority, which means we the the text has the final say, although rather it's more the interpretation of the text has the final say. And why are we doing this? I haven't explained that part yet. I'm so sorry. I did a master's in arts in Dharma Realm Buddhist University. For those wondering whether it's a real university, it is. It is a WAS accredited university, which means in the North American education system, WAS accreditation is the accreditation that universities like Stanford, Harvard have to adhere to, so that you can transfer credits between universities and your degrees and your awards are recognized. Okay, so DRBU went through a lengthy certification process, and so their the degrees are valid. They're not some fly-by-night university. So the method the method of study that we use at DRBU was called close reading, also known as a great books program, where the text takes precedence. Why do we do that? Why is it not like other universities where a lecturer tells you what he thinks the text is? It's because when we investigate the text directly, first of all, you are interpreting the text for yourself. All right, there's no middle person telling you what God is saying or what the Buddha is saying. You have to figure that out yourself. All right, and then number two, you will share what you understand. All right, and in that process of sharing, if you are willing to share, okay, and then in that process of sharing, you will discover things about yourself that you never paid attention to. That word is called hermeneutics, the way we interpret things. The way we interpret and understand things, we take for granted. Why? Because it is who we are. But how do we know that the way we interpret is right or wrong? Because someone, okay, who grows up in a Chinese household speaking Chinese, parents are Buddhist, grandparents are Buddhist, great grandparents are Buddhist. They have an altar of the Buddha on the table. They never question the validity of the Dharma. When they read this text, no problem at all. They just accept every single thing. Whether that's good or bad is not the point, but they accept. There's no doubt in their minds or in their hearts, right? And they will understand through their life experience, the way they were brought up, the books that they read, the culture that they are in, their family dynamics, all of that will help them understand the text. Now, you take someone else, okay, who grew up, say, in a household where religion was used to control people. They have a very bad experience with religion, and this person, someone who doesn't know, gives them a text like this, 6 Patriarch text. Their approach to the text will be very, very different, right? You give this text to a Catholic, a staunch Catholic, the way they read will be very different. You give it to a Protestant, again, will be very different from the Catholic. And even within the Catholics themselves, there are pious Catholics, there are hurt Catholics who denounce the church. All of them will react differently, right? So that's just one way to understand. So anyone wants to, again, let me show you. Okay, this is TA's thoughts. All right, that Shufu said that to give a stamp of confidence to this sutra because it's as true as the Shurangama Sutra. So that people who study the 6th Patriarch Sutra do not need to have any doubts. Okay, now we come back to the text. Is Shufu really saying that? Is there any evidence that Shufu says that that this refers also to the 6th Patriarch Sutra?
It's an implication there.
Where?
From the, because you see, he has, in the beginning, it's all about the 6th Patriarch. Suddenly he jumped in with this inclusion, Shurangama.
Yeah.
And then he says, I'm very confident of the Shurangama being true.
But is there anyone who's saying that the 6th Patriarch is not true?
Because in
Is
the
there
beginning, they say it's not translated from the Indian language.
Okay. Oh, very good. Okay, so you're referring to here.
The very beginning.
Sorry about this.
You see, the sutra delivered by the Buddha were translated from Indian languages.
Okay, this one. Very good. Yeah, very, very good. Because I was only looking at this paragraph. And from this paragraph, I didn't get the sense that there was any reference to the 6th Patriarch Sutra.
Venerable, I got a question.
Yeah.
In the Theravadan, they recognize the Suragama Sutra, but I don't think they verbally recognize the Suragama mantra. And upon my Google research, the Suragama mantra, I think it was somehow the original part was carved in stone somewhere in China. In the correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe this is just from my Google research. What's your thought on that? What's your research on that?
I tend not to go into historical detail when it comes to the sutras. Why? Because the only way to know for sure is if we go back in time and actually be present when the sutra was spoken, because there is no way using historical data to know for sure. No way. None. So what the Buddha qualified, so what my Shifu said about the Shurangama Sutra, he said it's not for sure that the Buddha spoke the Shurangama Sutra. That's what he said. Because why? How can you prove? What kind of historical data can anyone find to actually say the Buddha spoke the Shurangama Sutra? You can't. Even the Pali Canon, you don't have proof. All you have is people verifying it. That's all. Unless maybe you know the devas in the heavens and they say, yeah, I was there. I was there when the Buddha spoke this sutra. But how about other sutras? Then the deva said, no, I don't know. I wasn't there. Then how do you verify? Right? It's endless. It's a how to say, if you understand the history of universities and how it came about, if I'm not wrong, okay, this historical thing this one I know, okay. How come, all right, we are looking at sacred texts in that way to authenticate whether is it the word of God or whether the Buddha spoke it? All right. Universities were first formed for Catholic monks to study. All right. Now, if you look at the history of the Catholic Church, they started using the religion to control people. And that's exactly how the Protestant movement came about, because people had enough. Say, you are the one who interpret the Bible, telling us what to do. How do we know that what you are saying is correct? So the from education for monks in the beginning, they later, when the Protestant movement came about and they started to gain traction, the people in the new universities with that kind of inclination started to try to verify exactly what God said. Has the Bible been altered by the Catholic Church for their own purposes? Things like that, something like that. And that's why it is a Western way of looking at things. Now, Asian universities, unfortunately, have adopted most of the Western methods of doing things. And if you study philosophy, you will realize that there's a lot of drawbacks to that. One of them is called Orientalism. Orientalism is how the Middle East was a caricature of, am I saying that word right? An impression of the Middle East was created for the Western audience that was based on their ideas of what the Middle East was, instead of understanding Middle Eastern culture through their own lens. That is a very interesting book by a philosopher called Edward Said. Okay, so it's Orientalism, but not Chinese, not East Asian Orientalism, but Middle East Orientalism. So if you look at like Indiana Jones, the way they depict people in the Middle East, in Egypt and all that, you look at all those Lawrence of Arabia and all that, the way they show life in the Middle Eastern countries has nothing to do with actual life. Okay. So there's an argument then for when it comes to certain things like texts that like Confucius text that comes up from a certain culture, that it can only be understood if it comes from, if seen through the lens of the culture itself. What does that mean? It means that me as a monk, right? If you give me the Bible, inevitably, I will interpret the Bible through my Buddhist lens. I can't really help it. Now, when we had discussions with Catholic monks before, and they were trying to explain to us what is the Holy Father, what the Father, Holy Spirit, and the Holy Ghost, something like that, right? And the monk was actually struggling to explain because they don't really have a mechanism to explain that. And then later on, I turned to my fellow monk, Jin Chuan She, and we said, that sounds a lot like the three bodies of the Buddha, something like that. We can't help but use our current foundation of understanding to try to understand other people, something new. Yeah. But if I keep on doing that, I get a distorted view of what the religion actually is. Right? Same, if the Catholic monk were to pick up any one of these sutras, he can't help but interpret the sutra through their lens. So when it comes to authenticating Buddhist texts, there's a flaw there, because even in the Theravada side, when they claim that some Mahayana texts were not spoken by the Buddha, it was invented by man, it was, all these things. The flaw there is that they have not had the experience of learning under a patriarch. So why is there no, although Buddhist texts, were only written down 500 years after the Buddha's time. Before that, it was all oral tradition. Why is there no question about authenticity of the Pali canon? It's because it was handed down from patriarch to patriarch, from the first consul onwards. Then, when the Buddhism went to Asia and the that's not the right word. When Bodhidharma was the last patriarch of India and he went to China, he introduced the Mahayana text. So when you're under a Patriarch, you have no question whether the text is valid or not, because the Patriarch of Buddhism introduces the text. But that tradition has been lost in India. That tradition was cut off in the Pali text. So coming down to modern times, when you have a Patriarch, like in the case of my master, when he introduces a text, if you have affinities with him, then you will easier for you to accept the text. But then what you have to do is also understand how the Buddha defined what is a text. Okay, and to do that, let me show you this. I have to show you next week. I can't show you now, but I show you the text. Where is it? Where is it? Oh. Okay, there's this text called the Maha. Why can't I find it? It's because there's 2,000 pages. Okay, it's called the Treatise on the Great Virtue of Wisdom by Nagarjuna. And in this text, I mean, it's a compilation of different texts. But in this text, the Buddha, it outlines what the Buddha said about what constitutes a sutta or sutra. It has to fulfill certain conditions, which we read just now. Okay, where is our text now? Oh my God, I have too many open. Here, this one. Okay. So, there. They may be delivered by Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Patriarchs, and also by Arhats, spiritual incarnations and gods. Through the doctrines within them, though the doctrines within them vary, they all serve the same purpose. So the Buddha said this. He says, what is the purpose? Here he outlined the purpose. And he says, if it's consistent with the rest of the sutras and the Vinaya, then you can accept it as a sutra. So which is why my Shifu said it's not for sure that the Buddha spoke the Shurangama Sutra, okay? Because for people who are fixed on that way of using a different system to try to understand another system, there's no way you can, they don't understand the pros and cons of their own system. What my Shifu said is this. He says, so it's not for sure, but it's for sure that whoever spoke the Shurangama Sutra was a Buddha. You see the difference? So with that kind of mindset, your concern is more of how can this text benefit me? What can I get? What kind of wisdom can I get from this text that makes me a better person, that is aligned with what the Buddha wants for us, which is to reduce our suffering and to end birth and death? Isn't that a much a wiser way of using our intellect? Which means that you don't, like, for some people they're afraid of certain texts. Or Hindu texts, I don't read Bible. No, I'm Buddhist, or I'm Christian, I don't want to read the Bible. I don't want to read the sutra. But if you have that kind of open-mindedness, and of course you must have a foundation in your own religion, then you won't feel threatened by other texts. I would love to read the Bible if I have the time. I would love to read the Bible because there is so much that I can learn there that makes me a better Buddhist. So I read philosophy. Okay, why? Because philosophy, there is so much. Let me show you this. Okay, it's right here. Do I have it here?
Actually,
Yeah.
the Nagarjuna treatise, what was the name again? Sorry.
Okay, wait.
The
Mahaprashna Paramita Shastra.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, wait. I thought why don't? Okay, like here. All right. This book is by, let me see if I can pronounce it right, Adu. Okay, Hadot, the philosopher. Some people call him Hado. When he talks about mindfulness. Okay, here, you see? It says attention. I don't know how you pronounce this, or yeah. It says it's the fundamental Stoic spiritual attitude. It is a continuous vigilance and presence of mind, self-consciousness which never sleeps, and a constant tension of the spirit. Thanks to this attitude, who is writing on my screen? Okay. It says, don't worry. Can someone turn the whiteboard annotation off? Yeah, just turn that off. Okay, Levan has to go. Okay, bye, Levan. Okay, it says, thanks to this attitude, the philosopher is fully aware of what he does at each instant, and he views his actions fully. Thanks to his spiritual vigilance, the Stoic always has at hand the fundamental rule of life, that is, the distinction between what depends on us and what does not. As in Epicureanism, so for Stoicism, it is essential that the adepts means the practitioners, be supplied with a fundamental principle which is formulable in a few words and extremely clear and simple, precisely so that it may remain easily accessible to the mind and be applicable with the sureness and constancy of a reflex. You must not separate yourself from these general principles. Don't sleep, eat, drink, or converse with other men without them. Okay, I'll just stop here because the rest is... You can easily apply this to what? Precepts. Okay, this sentence before that is how the oral tradition was transmitted. And awareness, okay, or attention in Stoic spiritual attitude is what? It's just how you hold precepts. You know, and then there's another book, okay, called where is it? Here. All right, say mindfulness in Stoicism. Says what is he saying? Okay, hold on. Says, however, apart from the fact that it is already integrated within these philosophical origins of CBT, CBT is how you can change a person's behavior, cognitive behavioral something. Therapy, yeah, CBT. Stoicism has the advantage of being part of our European heritage, culture, and language in a way that Oriental literature and philosophy are not. The exotic appeal of Oriental meditation is often mitigated by the fact that much of the symbolism and terminology surrounding Buddhist and Taoist practices must be relatively inscrutable to Westerners with a superficial knowledge of the history of the tradition and the language it is formulated. Okay, for example, don't talk about East and Western language. Just say something like in Hokkien we have what is that? Chao ka xiao. Okay, those of you who understand Hokkien, chao ka xiao. All right, it literally means smelly leg person, right? Or smelly leg attitude. You don't have it in Cantonese, right? Any Fujian and Cantonese speakers? Yes, Brian? Brian?
Yes.
Were you answering?
No. I think my mic is on.
Yes, your mic is on.
Yeah.
So I'm calling you. Okay, Brian, since you're on, Chao Ka Xiao in Hokkien, is there a Cantonese equivalent? No, right?
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Okay, all right. Okay, so it says for all obstacles surrounding the interpretation of ancient Greco-Roman philosophy, and there are many, there's no doubt that modern Westerners are more familiar with this tradition from their own history, art, and language. although they may be unaware of this until they are introduced. Okay, actually, this is not what I wanted to show you all. What I want to show you is a few pages in front. But wonderfully, what he's saying here is what we are trying to figure out. Okay, how the language of the difference in language can lead to misinterpretation of another culture. All right, but if you know, all right, if you know your own culture or religion or whatever it is well, then when you read other texts, and the one in front of us is about Stoicism, you don't get threatened. In fact, you look for clues. You look for ways to learn. You look for examples of where it could be a different principle entirely. Here is very similar. It's about mindfulness, but you can borrow their language. Okay. So coming back to your question, Victor. Sorry, it took so long. Come back to your question. Not all Theravada Buddhists recognize the Shurangama Sutra because many of
mantra.
Okay, but even the sutra itself, to many of them, the sutra is not valid. And then as for the mantra itself, what happened was this. The mantra has always been part of the sutra. It was one person by the name of Charles Lok. Okay, Charles Lok was a disciple of the elder master Hsi Yin. When he was the first one to translate the Shurangama Sutra into English. And he, okay, made the decision to leave the mantra out because he felt that Westerners would not understand, which is a really terrible decision. Charles Lok. The decision he made was a demonic one because he obviously did not have the wisdom to, he obviously did not understand what a sutra is for him to take the liberty to do that. Because when you translate something, you're not translating your own thoughts, you're translating the words of the Buddha. And you cannot add or omit anything as you wish. You cannot detract from you cannot alter the meaning of the teaching. So because of him, people think that the Shurangama mantra is not part of the Shurangama Sutra. Yeah. So that's a huge error caused by one person. Okay. But if you go back to the Chinese, before it's even translated, you will find that the mantra is part of the sutra. Okay. All right. Now, does that help you, Victor? Yeah, and that's why you can find it inscribed on rocks or whatever, on the cliff or whatever, because it's part of the sutra for a very long time. Yeah. Alec, you have something you want to add?
No, for sure.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, now let's come back to our sutra. All right. So I'm very glad, TA, that when you asked your question, you were referring to the whole passage, because from here I didn't get that sense. Yeah. So based on that, yes, I think you're right. What do everyone think? Does anyone feel differently about here, TA's remarks? Okay. Just speak.
Sorry.
Dhamma, I just want to say that I think if you can, Dhamma, can you turn to the page where the commentary from the Mary Master Hua?
Okay.
Where he says the last passage. He says the sutras embody the precious wisdom of the Buddha. So this is like just what I call a general message about the sutras. They actually embody. So whichever sutra that is, it embodies the precious wisdom of the Buddha. No matter who, the name of the people who might speak or rather spoke the sutra. It could be Arhat, it could be Bodhisattva, Buddha, but that's like the essence of it is the precious wisdom of the Buddha, which includes the Platform Sutra as well. And the Shurangama Sutra. So thank you.
Why is the Shurangama Sutra singled out here is because in the 60s, Back then, during the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, if you were a scholar of religion and if you're a scholar of religion, let's say if you were a Buddhist professor, it was considered very, very unprofessional if you were practicing Buddhist. Because then they say you are biased, you're not impartial in your understanding. So can you imagine someone studying Buddhism and they look at where this monk was born, they try to trace the monk, who was their father's name, mother's name, what age did they ordain and all that. And whether this monk spoke this text, but it would never occur to them to actually use the text for what it was intended for, which is to reduce suffering, to transform yourself, to be a better version of yourself. So this happened up to even during the 80s, maybe early 90s. Buddhist scholars, if you also practicing Buddhism, you were frowned upon. You were not seen as an impartial professional Buddhist scholar. It was only during, I think, the late 90s when things began to change. Now it is considered in vogue if you, as a scholar, you also practice Buddhism. So back then, people who studied Buddhism were not Buddhist practitioners. They knew a lot about Buddhism. They knew a lot. So they were like, let's say for me, right? Let's say I know everything to do with bees and honey. I've studied every book on bees and honey. I can explain everything that you want to know about honey, or how honey, you put it in your mouth and you chew, how it's, what's supposed to be and all that. But have I ever tasted honey? No. Have I ever kept bees? No. But I've read every single book. I have published books on beekeeping and honey and how honey is influenced by the flowers that you introduce the bees to. I can be a world-renowned expert. But at the same time, not having tasted a drop of honey. This is what happens when you have scholars of religion who are not practitioners. They miss the forest for the trees. And that's how the Shurangama Sutra was, they deduced that the Shurangama Sutra was not an authentic sutra. Based on what? Based on the historical analysis. Which is why, if you have the fortunate affinities to be with a Patriarch, it makes a whole world of difference. Because they can, in the sutra, there's a lot where people, after encountering the Buddha, they said, you have set they always say like, what was confused before you have set straight, something like that. Sometimes they use a metaphor or simile. Okay. Yeah, so I forgot to add that. Okay.
So it is actually an academic exercise that what we are discussing about. Surely the question is not about the authenticity of the text, but whether, surely it's just whether it delivers what it is supposed to deliver when we practice it. So that is the test, really. That's the acid test, surely.
Yes and no, because you have to make sure that you practice it right.
Yes, I agree.
Because you could practice it wrongly and then wrongly deduce that the text is not true. Then that would be in error as well.
I think when you refer to the bees, it is very interesting. But here, we are talking about a higher external absolute truth, which we can't really test, can we? Unless we practice.
Yes, correct. No, not all the texts are like that. A lot of the texts in the Theravada canon, the Pali canon, this is Buddhism as you find in Thailand, Sri Lanka, a lot of the principles, you even using common sense, you can deduce that is a correct principle. For example, when the Buddha talks about how the precepts can lead to happiness and joy, and then there's a phrase saying the wise ones, it says follow the behavior that the wise ones will not disapprove. So just by looking at culture, just by how you say, I won't say it's common sense, but just through experience in life, you can quickly deduce that if you murder someone or you harm people, you know, you are going to receive retribution, and that someone who steals, for example, will not have peace of mind, because if you steal and you run home and you hear a knock on the door, it could be someone looking for the wrong house, but your heart races, you know, you get suspicious, and your mind is not at peace. So there are a lot of sutras where just by using logic, you can see how the principles are sound. Then, of course, in the Mahayana Sutras, when it talks about deeper principles where your through meditation and your like the Prajna Sutras or the Wisdom Sutras, where you see things for what they are, then that you have to practice. But by that time, you already have a level of faith and confidence in the Buddha, in the teachings, and in yourself. So by that time, you already have a foundation of, you're not coming in cold to the text by that time.
Thank you.
Okay, shall we move on? Or does anyone want to add to TA's deduction? No? Okay, let's move on. What time are we supposed to end? 8:30 or 8 o'clock?
8:30.
8:30? Okay, means we have 17 more minutes. Okay, let's. All right. Would someone, now we go into the translator's introduction. Why are we not going straight into the text? Because this particular translation that we have was done in 2014. I have another translation, which is this one. And this one has the full commentary of my Shufu. All right. Why we are not using this is because this was first edition in 1971. And the one that we're using is 2014. And the monks and nuns who retranslated this in the early, in the 2000 and came up with this, from 1970 to say just the year 2000, 30 years of experience, 30 years of practice, 30 years of study. So their understanding even of what commentary my Shofu gave is very different. If you practice for 30 years and you go back to the same text, you will interpret it. Don't talk about 30 years, just 3 years. All right. So that's why we're using this. And that's why the translator's introduction is very important from my perspective. You all have to see if I'm right or wrong, if you agree or not. All right. Now I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to turn off my video, but can someone read from here? All right. Just go ahead and read. Someone just volunteer, quickly read.
The teachings that the six great master used to expound were all the complete and direct message of the great vehicle. That is why this is called a sutra. Its words are everyday, but its guidance is far-reaching. The expression is easy, the meaning is clear. Everyone who reads it gets something from it. Master Ming Jiao praised it by saying, those whose natural potentials are sharp will get the deep, and those whose natural potentials are dull will get the shallows. How true these words are. From Zhongbao afterward of the 1291 edition of the Platform Sutra. After the fifth Patriarch Hongren has passed on the rope and go to the sixth Patriarch Huineng. He told him to immediately go into hiding. Huineng's life might be in danger. The fifth Patriarch warned the sixth Patriarch fled, but was quickly pursued by an evil crowd, wishing to steal these symbols of the Dharma bequeathed. The first to catch up with him was a monk named Hui Ming, a rough and coarse-natured former military commander. Unable to wrest the items away by force, Hui Ming cried out, "Cultivator, cultivator, I've come for the Dharma, not for the rope." The sixth Patriarch told him to come down and then instructed him on the essentials of Dharma. Your own mind in its original purity and stillness is the Buddha. Hui Ming felt he had now at last received the secret meaning. Yes, its purport was so simple and straightforward that he asked further. Other than the secret words and the secret meaning you just uttered, is there another secret meaning? The master answered, what I just told you is not a secret. If you look within yourself, you will find the secret is with you.
All right. Thank you, Randy. We can take a pause here and see if anyone wants to bring anything up. So one of the ways of doing close reading is that keeping quiet is okay. All right. Pauses are fine. Why? Because people are thinking. Okay.
Asher.
Hmm.
This version I couldn't get it from anywhere.
Oh,
And
I didn't share it with you all. I thought I shared with the group. No.
I must not be in the group then.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
I'll share with the 101, Buddhism 101.
Okay, thank you.
Pastor, I have read about the sixth patriarch, and it says that it's stressed on sudden enlightenment, but here they did not mention any sudden enlightenment. Is that the gist of the sixth patriarch?
We haven't even entered the sutra yet. This is just the translator's introduction.
Okay. Thanks.
How do you deduce that there's no that's a huge leap, you know. You are drawing a line between two very far dots. Okay.
In the beginning, I don't quite understand from the passage. This Huingming, he was supposed to be wrestling the items away from the sixth patriarch. But yet he says, cultivator, cultivator, I've come for the Dharma, not for the rope. So what is all the commotion about?
Okay.
Surely, if you're coming for the Dharma, you won't be acting with such aggression. Yes,
exactly. So that's why it says here. Okay, to be fair to your question, this is the introduction to the sutra. So this part of the sutra is quoted because there's the translator is going to make a point later on, which we haven't reached yet. But in the sutra, what happens is that when the rope and bowl, which are symbols of the Patriarchy, was transmitted by the fifth Patriarch to the sixth Patriarch, all the disciples of the fifth Patriarch did not trust in the wisdom of the fifth Patriarch. Okay, so to give you an idea of what's going on, the sixth Patriarch comes from the south. He is illiterate. He was a wood gatherer, very poor. And when he went to where the fifth Patriarch was, it was in a totally different part of China. All right. So can you imagine? Okay, and I imagine this for myself. Let's say I'm at City of 10,000 Buddhas. Okay. Let's say my Shufu is still around, and then right now, Reverend Heng Shuo, American monk, he's the president of our organization, and everyone thinks that he is going to be the successor. Why? Because he can lecture the sutras very well, he can speak very well, everyone respects him, he understands the doctrines. So everyone assumes that he's going to be the next Patriarch or next abbot of the City of 10,000 Buddhas. But then suddenly comes this person from a very different culture. Okay, so maybe someone from Africa walks into the City of 10,000 Buddhas, cannot read Chinese, cannot read at all. So when you can't read, means you can't read the sutras. You don't know what the sutras mean. Okay, come from a different culture, and then the principle is that we judge people based on what we see. Okay, so we look at this African man, or I look at this African man coming, and it's like, who is this person? And after a few months, which the context of which the sutra itself, when we get to the sutra, it will explain. Suddenly, my Shufu gives this African guy the rope and the bowl, instead of giving it to Reverend Heng Shuo, who we all expect. He has been giving lectures, he has been teaching us. All of us expect him to be the next Patriarch. But instead, my Shufu, maybe in a moment of madness or whatever it is, decides to give it to this person who's never read a sutra in his life, who's not even Chinese, doesn't look like us, doesn't act like us, doesn't talk like us. So that's exactly what happened to the temple of the fifth Patriarch. All of the fifth Patriarch's followers, all his disciples, did not trust him. Why? Culture, how you say, when religion becomes an institution, the institution or the culture will always overcome the principles, the actual teachings or the values. You will see this happening. So the teaching gets lost because the way we do things is more important. So can you imagine the fifth Patriarch's own disciples do not trust him? So when he gave the rope and bowl to the sixth Patriarch, that's why he told the sixth Patriarch, you run for your life. He fled, but was quickly pursued by an evil crowd wishing to steal these symbols of the Dharma's bequeathal. This crowd, because of their ignorance, they thought that the Patriarch lay in the bowl and the rope. But mind-to-mind transmission is what? It is you uncover your wisdom and someone else who's also uncovered their wisdom, they look at you, maybe they question you, and after they question you and the way you answer is like, yes, you are the real deal. We are the same. And then that's the only thing that's transmitted. It's actually an endorsement, a recognition, that's all. The wisdom is yours to uncover, it's not to be given away. It's not a rope or bowl. I hold the bowl, I hold the rope, therefore I'm the I'm the new Patriarch. No. Wisdom comes from within you. Okay. So the crowd that was chasing him, all right, this Hui Ming is a very interesting person because in the sutra we will find out that his feet, there's something with his feet, so he can run very fast. Yeah. And as you said, his Jenny, right? You was it Jenny? His intention was nefarious. He wanted to steal the rope and the bowl. So because he was unable to wrest the items away by force, later in the sutra we'll find out that actually the bowl was placed on the rock, and he tried to move the bowl, but he couldn't move the bowl. I think so. I think it was something like that. It was like Excalibur's sword, you know. He put it in the stone. Only what? What's the word? What's the saying? Okay, those from the UK, you should know, right? Excalibur's sword.
The right owner who is destined to be king can only take out the sword.
Yeah, but not right owner. I mean, there's actually a way that is phrased that talks about worthy, something like only the worthy
You
one.
can use the Thor one. Thor, only the worthy can wield the hammer.
You know, and the worthy refers to not deserve or not, but do you have the right qualities to protect people, right? Or thought, yeah, like that.
Compassion, as well as selflessness. So eventually Thor cultivate those qualities, therefore he was able to wield the hammer.
There you go. Yeah, so exactly like that, like Thor's hammer. As I said, this was the Buddha's bowl. Okay, so when he couldn't, okay, we don't know what was going on in his mind, but you know, this is where the fun is. We try to speculate. It says, cultivator, I've come for the Dharma, not for the rope. And it's so interesting, okay? It's so interesting that here, Hui Ming felt he had now at last received the secret meaning. But then he says, other than the secret words and secret meaning, you just uttered, is there yet another secret meaning? So did he really understand? No, right? Right? Although he had felt he had received the secret meaning, he just received the words. He didn't have the meaning. He didn't understand because why? He hadn't uncovered his own wisdom. You can say the same sentence to two different people. One who has gone through the experience and has the right understanding can, can identify with it. For the other person, it's just words. Words that have a logical sense and meaning, but it doesn't come, the understanding doesn't come from the heart. For example, like the saying, if you are not a vegetarian, you will never understand the meaning of compassion. A lot of meat eaters, when they hear that, they get upset. What do you mean? How can you say that? Well, you wait. When one day you become a vegetarian for the right reasons, you will know what I mean. Okay, so it's interesting, right? Yeah,
I thought it was interesting that he said, other than the secret words and secret meaning you just uttered, is there yet another secret meaning, which is, it seems to, he's always seeking. And so is the seeking here seems like he's not resting, then he's just continuously looking out for something.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Do you mean like before he even digested what he was given, his mind has already moved?
Yeah, he's already moving, but you want to do the opposite. You don't want to seek, you want to rest. He's not getting the point.
I recently have met someone who was like that. This person had the father had been okay, this is going to be recorded, right? Okay, I won't mention the names. So the family had just gone through some episode, and so he was very, very, very distracted. This person, when right in front of me, as you are talking to him, you can actually see him. He thinks he's listening, but anyone walks past, his head will follow. And if he hears any sound, his eyes will follow the sound. And this is when I'm having a conversation with him, as I'm talking to him. And he will be nodding his head like, yeah, while I'm telling him things. But he'll be like, yeah. And then he'll be, fidgeting, scratching his head. His leg was constantly, my mom used to slap my leg all the time, because that restless leg syndrome, your leg bouncing. Yeah. So his leg was never stopped bouncing. His hands were fidgeting. He was constantly distracted. And in the middle of me talking to him, and I would ask him, do you understand? Yeah, I understand. But you can see that he's not paying attention. Something like that. Okay. All right. So it's time. So we have to stop. Okay. Maybe next time we can read a bit more. I thought this was an interesting place to stop, but maybe next time we can read a bit more, get more context, and then we can come back to the beginning. Okay, so because this is a group effort, this is a collaborative thing, feedback is very important. You all have to share what you think works and what doesn't work in the process. What you get out of this is what you put in, basically. So sometimes, you want to spend more time in a certain place, or you want to revisit, feel free. Because everything, Asians are usually very shy. Okay, most Asians don't dare. They think that by voicing out their thoughts, people know who they are. Asians are very private that way. But it is very rewarding if you can trust each other, and you can trust in the process, and just sometimes think aloud. It doesn't even have to be a question. You're just thinking aloud, and you share that with the group. So at DRBU, Dhammayam Buddhist University, in order to foster communication like this, you are stuck with the same classmates throughout the entire program. It doesn't change. You see each other every day, not every day, but every semester for 2 whole years. I didn't complete the last semester, so I don't have my master's qualification for Dhammayam Buddhist University, but I got, at least I experienced the way the classes were conducted. So the role of the so-called lecturer is to facilitate. And I hope that in the future, you all can take over the discussion, and I just point out things that you miss, or I prompt you all, and you all can discuss this more among yourselves. All right. So anything that you get to share will be helpful for everyone. So in my experience, the first semester, we were a bit hesitant. The more vocal ones would speak, but some of them would be quiet. Then second semester, things would really open up. But I hope for this group, based on mutual trust and mutual intention and a mutual love for the Dharma, that we don't have to wait so long. Okay? So don't be shy. Okay, just say what's on your mind, I hope. All right. Okay, now we can dedicate merit, transference, or merit. What is transference or merit? Transference or merit is like this. Sometimes, you find a restaurant and they serve really good food. And the first thing that comes to your mind is, oh, I must bring my parents here. I must bring my friends here. I must bring my colleagues here. You know, your instinct is to share. Why? Because you find it wonderful. It's so wonderful that it only makes sense to share. You don't want to keep it to yourself. All right. So dedication or merit is like that. Any goodness that you have, you start with the wish that everyone can experience the same thing. So when your heart is in the right place in that way, then slowly your thoughts, your actions, and your speech will also follow. All right? Okay. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay, let me get an image of the Buddha. Then we can. What am I doing? Oh. Okay, let's do 3 bows to the Buddha. Okay, everyone. Thank you all
3
for
bows
joining.
to Venerable.
Yeah, you all bow to the Buddha, don't bow to me. And then we will see y'all. Wait, next week. Okay, hold on. Next week is what date? Next week is 27. I won't be around next week because, okay, remember I told you just now that I did not finish my master's at DRBU. Well, I joined another master's program from a university in Sri Lanka, University of Kelaniya, and I'll be in next week. I'll be in Sri Lanka for my graduation.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
so next week no class.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations,
Pastor.
Pastor.
I'm very happy. Okay, since I didn't have to pay a cent to go. That's a month. Okay, all right. So I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Okay. 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 Bye bye.
Thank you.